welcome back to Adam's Saruwatari Xtreme. Well, as you can see, the camera is set up for 2 people. However, Drew could not get out of bed. Sorry, Brad, I was trying to accommodate because she was up late with her girlfriends doing a DJ set and partying till the sun came up, where yours truly was in bed very early so I could get up and try and beat some of the traffic out. However, that plan didn't work super great because it takes forever to set the cameras up on the cars. And today you're riding with me. So let's talk about today. Today what we'll take a look at is Dahm and Abel going over the Rotary Covette and his FD3 rotor. 2 very well-known insane projects. But luckily when we were down there, Rob was so kind to go through the cars and kind of give us his thoughts and some sneak peeks of what's to come. I'm very grateful for that. And of course, we had to have the Rotary God with us on board to give his information, which no Rotary video is complete without Abel. So let's switch over right now and take a look.
But, you guys saw how beautiful we'll go over here, how beautiful the Corvette turned out. And that's something I'm very proud of. Actually, we'll come over here right now, give you some more light, and show off the infamous Rotary Covette, and truly infamous. This vehicle, we talked about it back in like January, I think it was, and you can see the look on both of our faces that, yeah, this is going to piss some people off. And so right now you're seeing it. We just put in all of the Holley fuel lines for E85. Everything's all clean there. I just did all of the Holley front oil coolers, and it's just some of the things that just really needed to be addressed before making some serious power. But look at how small that engine is in this engine bay. Really clean, small in the back, and truly a lot of the audience says one of the first mid-engine Corvettes. So funny enough, I think a lot of people don't realize this, that there is an Aerovet made back in the 70s. It was a concept car where it was a rotary-based Corvette, not Mazda rotary, but a Corvette, GM attempt at rotary, and it was a 4-rotor. And so you're hearing it here first. That new C8 just came out, and the number of people that messaged me makes me think that that C8 definitely needs a 4-rotor.
Oh my gosh, you guys hear that here first with us. Rob is sharing some top secret information.
It's just got to happen.
Now, is it going to be an NAV8, a 4-rotor, or a turbo 4-rotor? That's the question.
That is the question. That's a really good question.
On Abel's side, we just need to know which one's going to cost more, and that would be the answer to Rob.
Turbo rotor.
Yeah. Oh God. So yeah. So looking at this though, like I said, this is the sort of stuff that I would not be able to do by myself. Is solving these sort of problems. I didn't even know that type of hose existed, to be honest. And I set up the electronic water pump. That was my idea. Well, not my idea, but that was suggested to me, and I was like, okay, I bought all the stuff for it, but I still just had all these parts, and none of them were connected. And that's when I brought it to Abel 3 days before LS Fest.
I will admit, Adam.
Yes, sir.
I spent more hours and the longest overnighter with Rob's Corvette than I ever have on any of my cars.
It's the truth. It is the straight up truth.
I came in one day at 9 in the morning to the shop and left the next day at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Guys, that just means that Rob again is spending more money than anybody else, including Abel himself.
Oh yeah. I tried ignoring his calls when he was like, hey, I got the bill ready. I was like, block. This thing though, it's kind of funny because really I emotionally just treat this like a FD. I don't look at the car whenever we're working on the engine, and I just think of it as in like, it's a modified FD, a 3rd gen. And that helps keep the sanity, because otherwise you get kind of overwhelmed that this is really a mixture, an abomination. And so we're gonna find out now. We're definitely gonna find out, I think in a week or so. Abel just said that, hey, let's dyno this car on pump gas, and then dyno it on E85.
Yeah, like that we can show your viewers exactly the differences. Same exact setup. We're just going to drain the fuel, put E85, and you can see how much you get on gasoline. And the main thing is, they'll be able to relate to their cars and help them make a decision on which way to go.
Yeah, and I think the only bummer is that, a lot of that translates to all of the RX-7 owners out there. But because of the Corvette drivetrain, we're going to find out together how much that affects the power, lagginess, any of those concerns, we're going to find out together, because the highest rear end ratio I could find that it could even be made custom was a 4.1. And realistically, my 3-rotor has maybe a little high, but it's a 5.1, rear end. So each gear is very short, but you can put the power down very easily. That is a 3-rotor. This is a 2-rotor, and it had the stock Corvette rear end, and those gears were long. Like, you would stay in a gear, right? Almost like the Diablo. That's a 5-speed, and first gear went to 62 miles an hour. Kind of same thing with this. Corvettes aren't meant for high RPM. Oops. So we've got the rear differential out. We've got all the fuel lines being made into E85. And if you guys want to see, this is another thing, I haven't even filmed this for myself. I mean, see under here, there's where the first fuel tank here. I'll swap sides for you. A Corvette, similar to, there's a lot of things similar about the Corvette, but they're very analogous to the 4-rotor. And one of them is that this has a saddlebag tank setup. I did not know that until I got in there and saw extra fuel lines. So 2 tanks, it always keeps this side full. I had to accommodate for that with the whole fuel system, and making it all E85 compatible was a pain in the, there's a maze of hoses, multiple fuel pumps, beautiful fuel filter, by the way. It's a huge fuel filter. Nice clean 8AN line running up, feeding the glorious corn to the engine.
Maybe we ought to tell his viewers why the gear is so important. So basically what it comes down to is taller rear end gear means you go more mile an hour, but your motor has to have more torque to achieve the mile an hour and the horsepower. So the rotary engine being so small and not really making as much torque as it does horsepower, you need gear ratio to help you multiply that torque and be able to help the motor accelerate to get up to its horsepower potential. Well, the Corvette originally is a V8, real torquey, probably more torque than horsepower. So it can take advantage of the taller gear, go faster mile an hour. But unlike with smaller engines, not just rotors, 4-cylinders and stuff like that, they need the gear to help it, get up to speed and run harder, or else it puts a real strong load on the engine and you really can't accelerate as fast as you would with the gear.
That's true. And the Corvette, the engine's right over there. Its soul is sitting underneath my shelf. That's an LS6. You don't get too close because it starts to burn your soul.
Especially all you that love rotaries.
Yeah, you might want to do you might want to do an LS stop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I look at it and kind of I question the dark side. The abyss stares back at me. But that thing, even that being the LS6, which is a lighter weight, there's titanium rods in there. There's some Corvette did something to make it better than the LS1. That still only redlined, I think, at like 6,500 RPM, whereas this is a bone stock FD block, and I'd say what we're doing 77, 75.
Probably 8.
Okay,
we can probably go to 8 with that turbo. We can probably go to 8. And the best part that I'm gonna love is that pile of crap over there only put down like 360. I know we're gonna put more than 360 down to the wheels with this engine, so that's gonna be great.
Yes.
To show all those LS lovers the real.
Yeah, because people don't believe me that this not only will make the horsepower, which it's a modified engine, that's a technicality, but it's also going to make amazing amounts of torque. And I wanted to do a bone stock engine. We contemplated doing a built engine, but that's kind of cheating. I felt like let's start with a bone stock FD, drop in the block, don't modify it, no pins, studs, porting, nothing, and then see what we get. And then go for even more power, kind of similar to the 3-rotor adventures we have, which brings me to the next adventure, the 3-rotor. I think the agreement here, all these pieces, is that I'm no longer allowed to play with the used parts. I think that's an agreement. I promised Abel I wouldn't use the used parts anymore. So my money is spent on the 4-rotor right now, but new rotors, new housings, the fat iron. Abel's got a new fat iron, which is what was leaking oil. And I promise you guys this thing's coming back because this car's just too legendary not to have run again. And so,
but that's a nice breakdown of all the rotary engine parts.
Yeah. And
you can see there is quite a few pieces, and that's not, you're not seeing all the seals and stuff, but
right.
There's a bunch of pieces on there.
Guys, I just want to interject here. I can feel a common theme. Both Rob and I are always in trouble with Abel.
Yes.
I mean, Rob and I just need to hang out more because we get, we got that
teamwork.
Connection, man.
Yes.
And we could really drive this guy crazy, I think.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, Abel doesn't want us hanging out. But yeah, so this is the infamous 3-rotor, and really I owe a lot of the channel being a thing to this car. You know, it's been wonderful. We pushed it. We found out we had, what, 5 broken corner seals, and we were still making 900 horsepower. The corner seals
before I even touched it, when he first came and he brought it over.
I had broke them.
Yeah, he had been, doing his YouTube shenanigans and stuff like that. So I did a compression test on it just to see, okay, Rob, let's see where we at before I even touch it. And we had, out of the 9 pulses, I think 5 or 6 were like below 30. Compression.
Yeah, people don't know that.
And I told Rob, dude, we can't even dyno this thing. They say, Rob said it starts up. I said, I guess you're right. It does start right up. Let's go. Yeah. And I can't believe it. Like that, we made 900 and something horsepower. He went and ran the half-mile. The car ran great, went the fastest that it ever gone. So it just goes to show you that they're not as weak as people make them out to seem. They just they make a lot of power for their size, and they have to have all the proper fueling and stuff. They demand to have at least correct, so that they can last and be super reliable.
Yeah, and
once again, guys, they demand a ton of money.
Yes, yes. The funny thing is, Abel said YouTube shenanigans. Let's clarify what that was. I literally went into the settings to do anti-lag 2-step and had no idea what the ideal rough things were, and I just started putting in numbers and then just going to 8,000, 8,500 RPM, and I had set it way too advanced. Was it? Yeah, not retarded. No, way too retarded. I made it way too retarded. Dumped tons of fuel, and then it shot up. Boost went nuts, and then the car turned off. And I'm like, oops. And so I know. Ever since then, the corner seals had to have been blown because that was the day that the car stopped idling the same, and then you had to do some adjustments, and you got it idling again. But I know where that when that happened. So she will rise again, and what I've done. And we'll go look at the 3-rotor right now, actually. I went and bought a piece of carpet. I threw it out since then, but it was horrible. And it was shown as the only one on Amazon to replace carpet in FD, and I would not recommend it at all. But I went and found another one. A fan suggested this, and this is stock carpet out of a JDM car. So there's...
Yeah, you scored. That thing looks brand new. Look at it.
It's so clean.
Yeah, that carpet is good.
And this side, because the driver and passenger are opposite, they have opposite driver and passenger, so the gentle amount of wear is on the passenger side. That works. And the only thing I have to modify is I kept saying the parking brake in one of my videos, and I knew better. It's the hood latch.
The hood latch, yeah.
And so
the hood latch, gas latch.
Yep. So that's the only thing I had to be modified to make that work. And then I just bought the rear carpet.
Oh, the rear trunk.
And oh my God, it makes this car look brand new when I put them in there. So here you go. Here's a current view of the rust bucket.
Soon to be repaired rust bucket.
Yes, to be repaired. So a couple of things that are happening is I'm going to cut out the wheel well, and angle it this way. I'm going to cut out this whole wheel well and make it a flat piece of metal that's serviceable that I can get in and out of, because I want to be able to put the carpet on there and have it actually not be cut up. I don't want anything cut up. So all these hoses are going to move over to the side, and this will sit on top of the carpet. So it just looks like a stock FD. That was the dream. And then what you see up here is me practicing my welding, because underneath my seat was nothing. Underneath my front 2 seat rails mounts, there was just rust, and it actually ended up. You can see there's a whole piece of steel in there now. That was all empty. That was all just fell straight through. So I was living on borrowed time over there. And as you can tell, there is not a roll cage in this car, and I think that's one of the fun little projects we'll try to do. Is I have some amazing G-Force 5-point center buckle harnesses. I want to put those in the car, just because, let's be real, 1,000 horsepower to the wheels on a stock FD is terrifying. So, but if you come to the front, you'll see no amount of work that Abel has done to this car can undo the years of me being by myself. There are so many horrible things I have done to this poor car. And even, I'm not trying to shift blame, but I even bought the car with a lot of weird things going on, and I left it that way. So it's time to fix those things.
This is the Frankensteins of Frankenstein.
The ultimate Frankenstein
the
vehicle.
#1 prize.
Yes.
Winner.
Yeah, like for example, this is the radiator mount is a couple mounts together, I think, something like that. The bump steer kit, because of the whole subframe, the sway bar hits the steering rack, you know, the tie rod, that's cool. Hit a bump and the car actually hooks, that's horrifying. But
So please don't attempt this at home.
yeah, yeah,
Not attempt to do Rob Dahm's modifications to your own cars.
yeah, that's the best advice about this completely.
Just save all your money and go see.
Yeah, seek
Abel.
professional help.
Yeah.
Seek
Not even
professional
able. Seek professional help.
And my advice to all of you is keep buying lottery tickets. What do you think about that, Ron?
You're better off doing that. No, this is just an amazing. Just this owning a Rotary is such a. I'm not saying a love-hate relationship at all. I'm saying it's a very passionate relationship, because you can't be just a generic car enthusiast. Adam, I know you can relate. We've all three of us can relate, saying that owning an RX-7 does take a certain type of owner, and I think it makes a better appreciation for the car, mutual respect. Not that the car can think, but I feel like you respect the car more, you get more out of it. This car does not look like I've respected it, but I've loved it for years, and I think it's that like tough love that's really been what's shown in the videos. Is that I love this thing.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to side more with the tough love thing.
I think what it is he spent so many hours trying to fix things that it was just hard for him to say, okay, forget fixing, there's no fixing, tear everything out, let me start from scratch. He didn't want to give up his time invested, and sometimes you're better off losing to win.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to lose at all. He just wanted win. More.
That's very true, because a lot of things is like, Abel, can we just this? And I would give him a constraints of like, let's only work on this. And thankfully, I think it was cool to learn that way, like, to appreciate it. And this ended up turning into like the Rotary Covette, for example, where I realized, okay, you know what? I do have to take a step back, set the ego aside, set the time involved aside. Because like Abel said, is that I spent a lot of hours working on the car, and then he comes along with a new hose that I've never seen before, and AN fittings. I'm like, oh my god, that's expensive.
Same theme.
Yep, same theme. But it's right. I mean, now more than ever, my life's at stake with all of these vehicles. They're all being pushed harder than ever.
And just to show how things can go pretty good when you try to do the best things, that car got it running, the Corvette. Really didn't even put a tune. The fuel system wasn't even correct. I mean, it worked. Drove it up and down the street and make sure it was safe enough to drive. And he went all the way to Vegas and came back. No problem, no issues.
Yeah, on a car that's never existed before. Literally, the first test drive was going to Vegas. We did in the parking lot, and then I drove it to the shop, cleaned it up, went through everything, just checked every hose just in case, and then hauled it to Vegas. And so some of the things that's kind of funny. One of the things I've been working on lately, and I know that my YouTube audience appreciates it, but it's not sensational, is working on welding and fabricating. And one of the reasons I like that is because Abel can't stop me from doing something really stupid. It gives
when he's over here.
Yeah, when I'm here, and he doesn't see it until everybody else sees it. So I can't get stopped. So I'm talking like, although I think Abel would be in on this, a turbo manifold for the 3-liter, or excuse me, a turbo manifold for the 1-liter 3-cylinder Insight. Just put as much boost into that block until it dies. Things like that are things that I've been wanting to do for a while, where you couldn't justify us getting a welder to make piping for that car. That car, it's just a one-off, screw it, let's see what happens. And so you're gonna see more of that stuff on the channel. It's just having fun with, not necessarily the crown jewels of the cars here, but there's a reason we have 2 Insights. One is meant to get nitrous, the other one's meant to get a turbo, and just see what the stock block can handle. But yeah, so the more fabrication, more ability to get things done quicker, and then, and so with those sort of weird projects that I want to be able to do, you notice that some of the things I like to do is test things that honestly Abel's probably already tested, and you can see almost my shop becoming like a next generation of his, is that I'm just inspired to then try and do the same things myself. But some of the things, including using weird things like the fuel system out of the Corvette. So the Corvette does not have a fuel pressure regulator in the traditional sense. Fuel goes up to the engine, that's it. The engine takes it. Whereas RX-7s are normally returnless.
A lot of cars are returned.
Yeah, a lot of cars return.
And I didn't even know how it was going to work out, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, are you serious? But it just goes to show you that you can get anything to work if you try it or you have the correct stuff to do it, you know, like a good computer system or whatever, and it can work. But it's definitely not optimal to have it that way, but will it work? Yes, it will work.
Yeah, and so that was really cool to see the Corvette technology working on a rotary, and like you said, the computer is what can handle it. You know, we've gotten to a place with ECUs that just handle a lot of weird situations. So the only time that system wouldn't have worked was when you started going for high boost, because as manifold pressure increases, the fuel pressure is just staying the same. And so, you know, fuel injectors can't work in that environment, but they worked well in this one.
Thank you so much. It's been great meeting you, man.
Likewise.
Oh, man, it was so much fun. And of course, brother.
No problem. Good deal.
Well, my friends, that was an amazing look at the 3-rotor FD and the Rotary Corvette. What an amazing time. And again, a big shout out thanks to Rob and Abel. We really appreciate them taking the time to go through those cars. I really love those type of projects. It's just I have no desire to do them. But the best part is that since I'm good friends with the Rotary God, he's happy to show me projects like that. And I'm sure every time I'm down there, he'll take me over so we can go visit with Rob and get updates on the project so you can see what's going on. Amazing, to say the least. And that was a great time, my friends. Well, it's time for me to sign off and enjoy the rest of my ride in the Mercy. So, have a great week. See you next time.